Okay, lesson 13.8 coming to you right now. 13.8. I can create and interpret box and whisker plots. So a third data display. The lesson before this you learned a stem and leaf plot and a histogram. Now we're going to learn what a box and whisker plot does. Okay, so what is a box and whisker plot? Well, a box and whisker plot organizes data values into 4 different groups. Okay, the ordered data are divided into lower and upper halves by the median. So the median divides the data in half. And then the median of the lower half is called the lower quartile. So after your data points are divided in half, then you're going to divide them in half again. So the lower half is called the lower quartile. The median of the upper half is the upper quartile. The smallest number in the data set is called the lower extreme. And the largest number in the data set is called the upper extreme. Okay? So you've got 5 data points on a box and whisker plot, but divided into 4 groups. Okay? So here are your steps on how to make a box and whisker plot. Okay, this is the 0th step. It doesn't count as a step, but always make sure that you put your numbers in order from smallest to biggest. Okay? It'll be way easier if you put your numbers in order from smallest to biggest. Then your next step would be to find the lower extreme and upper extreme. Well, that's really easy once your numbers are in order, because the smallest number is on your far left, the largest number is on your far right, lower extreme and upper extreme. And LE is abbreviation for lower extreme. If you haven't figured that out, UE, upper extreme. Second step, once you find your lower and your upper extreme, then it's really easy once your numbers, again, they're already in order, to find the median, find the middle number. Once you find the middle number, then you can find the middle of the first half and middle of the upper half, which is then the lower quartile and the upper quartile. And once you have all 5 of those numbers here, okay, the numbers lower extreme, upper extreme, the median, the lower quartile, and the upper quartile, then what you're going to do is take all 5 of those numbers, you're going to plot them onto a number line, and you're going to draw the box and the whiskers, and voila, you have created a box and whisker plot. Okay? So, let's put all these steps into action by taking the ages of 8 family members listed below. We're going to make a box and whisker plot. Okay? So we have a 6-year-old, a 15-year-old, 25-year-old, 20, 55, 70, 40, and 30. So my first step is to put the numbers in order. So down below you can write the numbers in order here. So I got fancy and I already wrote my numbers in order. So these are the same numbers, but they're written in order from smallest to biggest. So you can just write them right below. Okay? So after I put my numbers in order, let's find the lower extreme and the upper extreme. So let's actually label these numbers. So my lower extreme is the smallest number. So my 15 here is going to be my lower extreme. My upper extreme is going to be my old 70-year-old. Or it could be young. Young 70, old 70. Age doesn't make you old or young. Okay? Second step, find the median. Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers in this data set, which means that I'm going to have a median that is between 2 of the middle numbers here. So, 4 numbers, my middle is going to be right here. And in this case, my median is the middle of 30 and 40, so I can add the 2 together, divide by 2, and that's going to be 30 plus 40 is 70. 70 divided by 2 is 35. But in this case, super easy because between 30 and 40 is 35 here. Okay? Next step, find the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So lower quartile. Let's talk about the first half of the numbers. My first 4 numbers is my lower quartile half here. I'm going to find the middle of the first 4 numbers. Okay, so again, I have an even set of numbers, which means I'm going to have 2 middle numbers, which is 20 and 25, which means my middle is going to be between the 2 middle numbers, 20 and 25. 20 plus 25 is 45. 45 divided by 2. Middle of that is 22.5. My upper quartile is take the last 4 numbers. The middle of the last 4 numbers is going to be between 55 and 60. This is going to be my upper quartile. 55 plus 60 divided by 2, or the middle of 55 and 60 would be 57 and a half. Okay? I'm going to write these numbers down. LE is a 15, UE upper extreme is 70. So now we have all 5 of my data points. I'm going to plot the numbers on the number line, and then I'm going to draw the box and whisker plots. So in other words, we're going to need to make a number line here. Okay? In my number line, I need a number line that takes me from smallest number, which is 15. I need to take it all the way to 70 spaced out here. So I'm going to start my number line, let's say on 10, and I'm going to space them out. I'm going to go by 10s probably to get all the way up to 70. So I'm going to go 10, 20, 30, and 70. There we go. All the way to 70. We didn't really need this extra part of the graph here, so I can go ahead and erase it. And now I'm just going to go ahead and take all 5 of these points and plot a dot. So I'm going to plot a dot at below 15. I don't want it directly on my number line, and you'll see why. I want it right below, so the best I can. Here's my 15. My 22.5, so it's about right here. 35. 57.5, and 70. So I should have 5 dots here, all representing my 5 data points of my box and whisker plot. And so this is how you draw your box and whisker plot then, okay? The first 2 dots you're going to connect, that's going to be a whisker. Your last 2 dots you're going to connect, that's going to be a whisker, okay? Then you've got your middle dot, that's going to be your median, and the median always is going to have a line drawn through it, okay, because that's going to be, well, that's the median, I guess. And then you've got your 3 middle dots of the 5 dots. That is where your box comes in. Okay? So if you can just think the first 2 dots is the whisker, the last 2 dots is the whisker, the 3 dots in the middle create the box, but that middle dot of the 3 dots is going to be your median. We usually draw a line in the middle of that box, that rectangular box, and that represents the median. Okay, and what I like to do too is sometimes you don't see this data, so if I make a box and whisker plot, I tend to also label these numbers too, so 15, and then 22.5, 35, 57.5, and 70. So there you go. You've just created a box and whisker plot that represents the ages of 8 family members in this data set here. Okay, so you can easily tell the oldest person in this family, the youngest person in this family. You can see the middle age of the family, and other data points too. Okay, so different kind of data display tells you different information. Had you not had this information then up here to make your box and whisker plot, and I only gave you your box and whisker plot, you wouldn't be able to tell how many family members are in this because it doesn't tell you how many data points there are. But it tells you some of the averages, right? The median, the lower, the upper, the middle of the first half, the middle of the second half. Okay? All right. Some other things, too, that you can use in a box whisker plot. There's something called an interquartile range. Okay, so this interquartile range means it's the difference between the upper quartile and the lower quartile. Now remember, the upper quartile is the middle of the second half. The lower quartile is the middle of the first half. So the interquartile range, so this is the interquartile range, is the difference between both quartiles. Okay, just kind of think of it as the range of the box section of your box and whisker plot. So if I'm going to find the interquartile range of my data set here, well, my upper quartile was 57.5. I'm going to find that subtracted from 22.5, which was my lower quartile. Okay, and it looks like my difference in the quartiles is a difference of 35. Okay, they tend to have interquartile range because it rules out, the numbers rule out the outliers. Remember, outliers are numbers that are extreme from the rest of your data points. Okay, they're extremely lower or extremely higher. That kind of throw off the data. Last part, how do you interpret a box and whisker plot? So there's a few things that you need to know about a box and whisker plot, okay? It's not just this pretty box that has whiskers on it that have 5 data points on it. A box and whisker plot separates data into 4 groups, which we knew. The 2 parts of the box, and then the 2 parts of the whiskers. That's where the 4 parts come in, okay? Whisker, whisker, box, box. Each part contains about the same number of data points. So for example, I'm going to draw a whole nother box and whisker plot here. Okay, I'm just making this up. So if I have, let's say, whisker here, and then I'm going to have my box, and then my extra long whisker on that second half. And let's say this is my median right here. Okay, so what a box and whisker plot is, you can't look at the size of the boxes and the whiskers that tells you how many data points are in there. Okay, the sizes just pretty much tell you the range of the data in the quarter pieces, but you have to know that in a box and whisker plot, each part contains about the same number of values. So in other words, this whisker contains 25% of the data points. In this first half of this box is 25% of the data points. The second half of this box is 25% of the data. And then the second whisker is also 25% of the data points. That's why a box and whisker plot is separated into 4 groups, even though 4 groups don't look evenly distributed on an actual box and whisker plot. Do know that each part represents 25% of the data. Okay, because if you look up here, you can see that even though they're not spread out, I know that 25% of my data in here represent ages from 15 to 22 and a half. I know that 25% of the people in this family ranges from the ages of 22 and a half and 35. 25% of the people in this family ranges from 35 to 57 and a half, and then 25% of the people in this data represent ages from 60 to 70. Okay, so it's not about the size of the box and whisker plot. You have to know that each part of the box and whisker plot is a quarter of the values of the data set. So then you've got some things that to interpret. Know that each section represents 25% of the data, and the size of the whisker or the box don't matter. Okay? All right, here is your summary. So, just sketched an example of a box and whisker plot for you. Know that there's 5 data points in a box and whisker plot. You got your LE, your LQ, lower extreme and lower quartile. Your M is your median, your UQ, and your UE, upper quartile, upper extreme. Okay, and then there's 4 different parts to a box and whisker plot. Remember, each part is 25% of the data. And each whisker is 25% of the data. And then last vocab word was your interquartile range here. Upper quartile minus the lower quartile. It's the range of the quartiles. All right, that is it for box and whisker plots. Thanks for listening. and sample is here.